Hi everybody. I sincerely apologize for putting my videos out so late. It is not on purpose. As you are aware, we had a flood and everything that came along with that. And now our load shedding is getting worse. Although highly frustrating for me, please don't worry about us. I'm living in gratitude as my household is one of very few blessed small portable generators sponsored or gifted to us by a wonderful subscriber. So my first priority is to use it to keep the fridge going. But from time to time, when everything is nice and cold, we do use it to charge laptops and phones. At some point, when time allows for it, I'll share what I learned about our load shedding and electricity problems. It is horrific, and it does not appear as if there are many silver linings to the matter or light at the end of the tunnel. So let's delve into episode 5 of Harry and Meghan's Netflix show. It basically opens with Meghan saying she wanted to create for her children what she always craved, a large family with cousins, etc. Well, right off the bat, I can tell you that straight away she is lying. Here's a quick rundown of Meghan's very large family. Doria, Meghan's mother, has two older maternal siblings, Joseph and Sandra Johnson. She also has a younger paternal half brother, Alvin Geoffrey Ragland. Uncle Joseph has three children, Jared, Sean, and Jason. Aunt Sandra has a son called Donovan Johnson. So that already makes four cousins right there. Megan's father, Thomas, has two brothers, Michael and Frederick. I'm not sure about Uncle Mike's children, but I do know that he has at least one daughter. Uncle Fred has two sons, Nick and David. So that makes it six cousins right there. So, what is Meghan talking about? As far as the royal family goes, her children only have three cousins. So, what is she talking about? Then she goes into the whole woe is me narrative. It is clear the palace was not going to protect her, and she was thrown to the wolves, and everything went awry when the media got involved. Then she again talks about the letter to her dad saying the palace wanted the animosity and media speculation to stop and that it was suggested by the Queen and Prince Charles that she write to her father. Then she explained that she feared the letter would not reach him, as with the royal insignia, the letter addressed to Thomas Markle may have been stolen, hijacked, or whatever. So she instead sent it to her business manager to forward to her father. Okay, well, you guys can try to make sense of that. I can't. She could have emailed her father, phoned him, gone to see him, and speak to him in private. It is 100% my opinion that she wanted that letter to be black on white and out there with the intent of having it leaked or published. Why, if it was such a secret, did she even tell her friends about it? And if they were not aware of the contents, how could they quote a line or two from it to People magazine? Then she says her father had to sign for the letter, but it wasn't her father's signature. This is just Meghan's delusional mind and conspiracy theory, because even if that is true, it means absolutely nothing. My daughter often collects my mail. but unless I ask her to, she does not open it. It is a moot point anyway, because the existence of the letter was leaked by Meghan's friends, and Mr. Markle would likely not even have spoken about it had they not told People magazine about it in the first place. Then Meghan says the Mail was stupid for printing the letter. According to Meghan, the palace agreed that she had to act against the Mail, but nothing happened. So she took her own legal action. Again, we have interviews with various people in between, like Meghan's lawyer, Edward Verity, etc. Then they talk about Vancouver Island. Harry said that he called his father and suggested they move to Canada. He says, and I quote, "You guys can be on the front pages of all the papers just like you wanted." What a little snot-nosed shit. Then he says he talked about moving away back in 2018 already, and in 2019 they spoke about moving to South Africa. Now, let's put the brakes on immediately. Harry is lying right here. Remember the documentary called An African Journey? How many of you caught what he said when Tom Bradby asked him whether they would consider moving to Africa? And now I will quote from Harry's own words. I don't know where we could live in Africa at the moment. We just came from Cape Town. That would be an amazing place for us to base ourselves. But with all the problems going on there, I just don't see how we would be able to really make much of a difference as we want to without the issues and the judgment of how we would be with those surroundings. So, no, he lied to Oprah and he just lied again in this documentary. They were never serious about moving to South Africa, and I doubt it was ever a discussion at the palace. Remember, that interview was given in September 2019. However, Harry goes on to say that the palace officers leaked their plans to the Times newspaper and it became a public debate. No, it didn't. There were questions because Harry loved Africa so much, yes, but no plans were leaked because there were no plans to leak. Anyway, Harry says that while they were in Canada, he spoke to his father about working from Canada for a minimum of 2 years, and his father told him to put his plans in writing. Harry says that part of his offer was that if it did not work out, they would relinquish their Sussex title, which I personally think is yet another lie. They are now in the United States, which is not a Commonwealth country. They are not working for the royal family, but more against the royal family. And it is clearly not working out between them and the royal family. So why aren't they relinquishing their titles now? Then Harry said that somehow the tabloids knew about this proposal. Really? How? The world started speculating when they did not return to the United Kingdom when they were supposed to. But the world did not know about the proposal until they themselves put it out in a statement on their Sussex royal site and social media. Remember that? A proposal which was not yet accepted by the palace and wasn't accepted after the Sandringham summit. Harry tells how he battled to get to speak to his father and grandmother, but once Meghan left for Canada, the Sandringham summit was called. Both him and Meghan were convinced they did not want her there. Well, yes, I'm sure that at least is true. But again, why? One, because she was only there by virtue of her marriage to Harry. It was not really her family or her job. Secondly, she had only been there half a minute and could not possibly understand the complexities of the family and the monarchy. Thirdly, by then she already had the reputation as a blabbermouth who told her friends and minions, like amid scabies, everything, and who then leaked it to the press. Then Harry said the royal family had 5 proposals for him. One was all in, like before, and number 5 was all out. He said he opted for number 3, half in, half out, but they said that was not up for debate. Again, I don't understand. So, what was option 2 and 4? And why would they offer number 3 and then say it is not up for debate? Well, either Harry cannot count to 5 or he is talking through his arse. Anyway, then he said William was screaming at him. Well, yes, I can believe that. I am 100% sure William was very angry. I would have been. The entitlement, the lies would have been far too much for me as well. I'm also sure William was hurt and disappointed. And yes, my brother and I had yelled and screamed at each other in our lives, but neither of us are traumatized by it. And neither of us had gone and told the world about it. Harry also said that his father also said things which were not true. And I would like to know, like what? But he effectively called his father, the now king, a liar. And then he said his grandmother just sat there. Well, yes, I do that when my daughter and her son argue. He is not my son, and she is his mother. I can only interfere if or when it gets out of hand, which in our case it never has, or if and when either one is being grossly unfair. Other than that, she is his mother, the parent, and he is her child. And I think the Queen felt the same. Harry then talks about their partner, the media, indicating that the royal family were in cahoots with the media. And that is when he talks about the statement from William's office disputing the rift between the brothers. And he says that they did not have his permission to use his name, and the media lied to protect his brother. Protect his brother? How? By not reporting that William yelled at him? We would not have known that if Harry did not tell us. Then he says he realized then that they were not going to stop, and it was his decision to leave. that Meghan never asked to leave. Maybe not, but she certainly laid the foundation and manipulated behind the scenes. And now we get to the part where I have another bit of personal information to share. They then have Christopher Boozy back on doing his thing. He tells about how he found that 83 accounts on Twitter were responsible for the hatred against Meghan, that they made 114,000 posts shared to and by 17 million people, and that it was a coordinated attack by mostly white, middle-aged women, and that Samantha was part of the Mexit hate group, and that it was all about race, and that they used the N-word. Now, this is the biggest load of bullshit I have ever heard. And how do I know that? Well, I am part of that so-called mixed group, a group which does not really even exist. It is merely a term for people who do not always approve of Meghan and Harry's behavior. It is not a group who meets regularly to have meetings and strategy, and quite frankly, we are 99.9% of the time just doing our own thing. And no, we are not all white, and no, we are not all housewives, and no, we are not all middle-aged. Some of us are downright old, and some are young. Since I came to YouTube, I spoke, and when I say spoke, then I mean exchanging email, DMs, etc., with Yankee Wally 5 or 6 times to inquire about her welfare. I went through our correspondence, and only once was there anything about Harry and Meghan. Murky Meg, 2 emails, 2 DMs, one DM she had not even responded to. Taz, no email from her or to her, no DMs from her or to her. P. Dina, one email, which was just something she forwarded to me for my opinion. The only other YouTuber I physically speak to over the phone is Paula M. And we have become friends when she used her contacts to help me get my Canadian visa. So there you have that. Samantha had never been part of any group, but always did her own thing, and her posts on Twitter had always been varied and often included political posts and many other topics. Samantha responded to DMs from me twice in more than 4 years. And both times, it basically had nothing to do with Meghan. And the powers that be are welcome to subpoena my electronics. The same applies to Thomas Markle Jr. I supported him when he started his YouTube channel, and our back and forth had always been about his grandchildren or me asking about his father's health. There was one jokingly comment about his sister Meghan, and again, I am prepared to hand my phone to anybody who does not believe me. Christopher Bosey is talking shit, unadulterated caca, as my children would say, and I can 100% prove it. What I can also prove is that he, however, and I'm talking about Christopher Bosey, did exactly what he is accusing the people on his list of: doxing people, making their personal details public, and attacking their physical appearance and race, as he again did when saying that the so-called mixed group are white housewives. This is race baiting, and Meghan and Harry are allowing it and paying for it. Ask Christopher Bosey, who started the hashtag Footsack Meghan on Twitter. Who ran with it? White housewives? I think not, although I personally love it. Why was it started? Because Meghan lied and said their wedding was celebrated in the streets of South Africa, just like the release of Nelson Mandela. A complete and utter lie, which an entire country, black, white, and brown, can attest to. If there was someone who used the N word referring to Meghan, then it is some rogue person, because I have not seen it. And whoever it was not from the so called mixed group or then regular posters. But where are those posts? Why doesn't Christopher Bosey show it to us? Where is his proof? Then Meghan talks about a security report in which it is said that if anyone comes across a tweet that reads, Meghan needs to die, they should report it immediately. Well, has anyone come across such a tweet? I have not seen one. And then why don't they show it to us? And why hasn't it been reported and traced to the person and that person charged? But what they do not talk about are the thousands of threats Catherine received after Harry and Meghan's Oprah interview. Why don't Meghan and Bosey talk about the real Twitter account telling Catherine to count your days? An account with 2,000 followers and a message which also contained a racial slur and gun emojis. The tweets which called Catherine an ugly white bee. Why don't they talk about the hundreds of angry or threatening letters which arrived at Kensington Palace after the Oprah interview? But you see, it doesn't suit their narrative to talk about that. And no report is a real report unless it considers both sides. Then we get footage of Harry and Meghan meditating, and they talk about them going back in March to pack and end it. And talking about that, who took that footage? Did they do it themselves by using a tripod, or did they bring a photographer? Harry says people were sad to see them leaving. Then they talk about Commonwealth Day, and Harry says the interaction looked cold because it was cold. Meghan tells how on a flight back from the United Kingdom, a pilot came to her, took his cap off, knelt next to her, and thanked her for everything she did for his country. Oh, wow. Again, unless that pilot speaks up and confirms it, I call BS on that one as well. It sounds so much like her Nelson Mandela and dancing in the street story to me. Harry says the royal family missed an enormous opportunity with his wife. Okay, then they jump back to Vancouver Island and they move to the United States. They, particularly Harry, talk about the paparazzi hounding them, but they show the same footage of the same two boats, each with two guys on them, over and over. Okay? They talk about photographers trying to jump over the fence, but show an old man peering through what looks like a fence, or it looks like he is peering through a fence. But I think I recognize that man. If I remember correctly, was an elderly gentleman a media outlet interviewed when it was rumored that they had left Vancouver Island. This man was out walking his dog and said that he had not seen any activity around the house like vehicles coming or going or security for about 2 weeks. Now I'm looking for that particular footage just to make sure. So perhaps you guys can help me out here. Anyway, then they say COVID hit. Everyone knew where they were and their security was being pulled and the border was closing. Oh, wow, how dramatic, how terrible. But then, how I wish I was stranded on Vancouver Island in a mansion during COVID lockdown. But for them, it was worse than death. As a matter of fact, according to them, they were staring certain death in the face. Then Megan got this brilliant idea and called Tyler Perry and amid tears told him about their terrible plight. And he rescued them by sending a plane and offering his home for them to stay in. And on the 16th of March, they had their freedom flight with Archie, Grandma, and the dogs in tow. Okay, guys, that's it for now. I'll do episode 6 and my final conclusion and opinion in a separate video. And I apologize. My voice is going once again. It's this heat and then cold and then rain and then anyway. And a bit of stress, I think. But otherwise, I'm healthy, so don't worry. Okay, guys, so until I get back to you on episode 6 and my conclusion, please take good care of yourselves. Bye.